Welcome to Japan. It has incredible car culture.
Some of the nicest human beings on Earth.
It has the best vending machines, which is really handy when you've got very bad jet lag.
Handy robots.
There's even a race circuit at the base of Mount Fuji.
We're here to check out a new race series and one very special racing car in particular.
And it's this, the 9X8. This is Peugeot's new Le Mans Hypercar. It's got a 2.6 litre turbo V6 and a hybrid system with four-wheel drive. It's got 671 brake horsepower and it weighs just over a tonne. So, yeah, this is a fairly serious car. Now, Le Mans Hypercar and its sister series, Le Mans Daytona Hybrids, are a new endurance racing series that's been conceived to be a little bit more realistic, at least in terms of budgets, and replace the very expensive LMP1 class. It's kind of the dawn of a new era for the WEC, the World Endurance Championship, and I happen to think it is worth your attention.
So what's good about it? Well, it's cheaper than before, so that should encourage more teams and more variety, which is always good in competition. So far, alongside the Le Mans Daytona hybrids, there are entries from Peugeot, BMW, Glickenhaus, Alpine, Ferrari, Toyota and Porsche, amongst others. This is good.
But after that, the rules are a little bit freer. So every team has to use a specific chassis from one of 4 manufacturers, which keeps costs down. But after that, they can use any internal combustion engine that they want. So it gives them a lot of freedom in the way they power their car. When it's allied to a hybrid drive, you can then use it to power the front wheels to give all-wheel drive, boost up the rear wheels, or you can just use the engine to power the rear wheels on its own. What that means is that the cars will have a lot more character, they'll sound different, they'll look different on the track, and therefore you get more variety.
Oh, and there's balance of power regulations to keep the racing close and fair and make sure that one team doesn't whitewash the whole series. There's one tyre supplier, Michelin, and running a pair of hypercars will be 75% cheaper than LMP1.
That means you'll get private teams being able to mix it with the big manufacturer entries. And you'll also get cars that look like they've been designed by actual people instead of copy and paste racing cars with different liveries.
And that's why we're interested in Peugeot's effort, because the regulations limit aero downforce. It means that the designers can be more creative. And Peugeot has decided that it can produce all the ground effect it needs by using clever underbody aero and without the mahoosive rear wing. And that makes the 9X8 look different.
I mean, just look at it. If good-looking cars are fast, then this thing is going to be lightning. And the basic structure is actually really interesting. So up here, we have a 200 kilowatt electric motor shrouded in a nose that actually looks like someone from Peugeot designed it. Okay, so it's not exactly a 308, but you do see the family resemblance. And then as you move down the car, come with me and look at this. There's the cockpit, which is a little bit wider than I first thought when I saw it in pictures, although the car seems to be very low and narrow. It's very slinky shaped. And as you move down, you see all the aero bits. And then when you get to the back, there's no massive rear wing that we're used to with these kind of racing cars. Because the requirement for downforce is a little bit lower in Le Mans Hypercar, Peugeot has gone a completely different direction. They've managed the airflow all over the top of the car and especially underneath it, so that this car produces enough downforce without a big wang. And also, as you'll notice, it still has Peugeot rear lights. It's not a 508, but you get where I'm going with it. It looks great.
Which is kind of the point. Cheaper racing for the manufacturers, more competition, style and character for the fans. A win all round. But they still have to work. So that's why we're here at the Fuji 6 Hours with Peugeot to get a handle on some of its final testing before the big campaign in 2023.
Now, you're the boss of Stellantis Motorsport.
Right.
So, why do motorsport? Why race cars? Because it's not exactly a Peugeot 308 that you've got in there.
It's not exactly. If you do motorsport, it's because it's a passion. You can't do motorsport if it's not a passion.
I mean, the interesting thing is here, you've started a new, completely new series. Le Mans Hypercar is very different. So what is it about Le Mans Hypercar that's going to excite the fans? What's different to LMP1?
What is different to LMP1 is, I would say, the main difference is the cost to make this program affordable. So to make such a program, of course, it's a business decision. It's it's a technical laboratory for new technologies. The skills we are developing, the tooling, the development tools we are using on the architecture are already the same as on the 508 PSC. On the 508 PSC has already the energy management algorithm that have been developed for the 9X8.
Oh, so it's actually directly related?
Yes.
So this year's been kind of an installation, a little testing year, and then next year you're going to hit it hard. And you've got a car that looks very different to other Le Mans hypercars. Why have you made it without big wings? Why doesn't it not look like an LMP1?
You're right. This year is a learning year, but as we are racer, every time we are coming, even if we are learning, it's to win, so we'll do our best. The sport regulation is forcing geometry of the car.
Yeah.
On this car, it's a downforce coefficient, a drag coefficient, and as long as you are in this window, you can make the design you want. We make the bet instead of letting the motorsport engineer designing the car and after whistling the design style department to make it beautiful. We made, as on a road legal car, what we call a convergence design and technical. And the way we have worked is we were in a frame to fulfill the regulation. No compromise on performance, but with a lot of room of creativity for the design.
And pretty race cars are fast race cars.
Yeah,
So if it's beautiful, it should be fast.
It's necessary to win, it's necessary to be beautiful.
I'm James Rossiter and I'm race driver for Peugeot Sport in the 9X8 for the World Endurance Championship. So LMH gives you a lot more freedom in the rules in terms of design. So you can design a beautiful car, you can have areas of the car that you can create your unique identity, but also you can implement your technology. So you can really build a car that has your philosophy, your team's ethics, and really build the project around the sort of guidelines that you want to showcase for your brand. The four-wheel drive is different to me. I never had raced a car that was four-wheel drive. This is something that's really unique to the hypercar class. And when you come out of the corners and that four-wheel drive kicks in, it's an amazing feeling. The car just flies out of the corners. You can be sort of on the edge of the limit of the car as you go into the corner, and then you get to the exit and you nail the throttle and the thing just flies straight out the corners. And this is something that's really unique to the hypercar class. The car itself to drive, it's okay, it's quite intuitive. Where it becomes really challenging is you have a lot of GT cars out there and you're overtaking them about every 6 to 8 laps. So you have to be really smart with your traffic management, your energy management. You can't just fly up behind one of the GT cars and expect him to move because he's flat out racing himself. So you have to be smart, you have to play a game of chess kind of with those GT cars, and you're also racing the other hypercars. So from that side, it takes a huge amount of concentration to race in the hypercar class. So we have obviously the regen on the front axle with our electric motor. So we recover 200 kilowatts of energy during braking from the front axle. This allows us to put the energy back into the battery to then deploy it on the exits. And where that becomes unique is it affects brake temperatures, so it affects your brake warm-up, it affects when the battery is at 100%, you don't have it. So you have to manage your battery state of charge, the SOC, which you might hear us referring to over the radio, is state of charge. And this is quite important to keep it always in the right window, to keep the battery temperature in the right window. So there is quite a lot of things technically to manage from the engineering side as well. With all the brands coming in now over the next couple of years, it's going to be incredible, the hypercar class. There's so many brands, it's going to be so competitive, and each one gets to showcase their unique technology. So I think it's going to be a great future for hypercar.
I guess what we're asking is whether this 9X8 is actually any good, or whether it's all mouth and no trousers. And to figure that out, well,
Let's go racing!
So here's the thing, the Peugeots actually look like Peugeots when they're out racing. And simple things like having lights that are recognisable at a distance, even in the day, make the 9X8 really easy to pick out. But you also really do notice that the 9X8 sounds different to, say, the Toyota GR010, and looks like a different class altogether. Smaller, more nimble, somehow slicker than the more traditional and very fast Japanese entry. And that's the point. This is great. So despite looking like a supermodel, the 9X8 got beaten. Toyota won this race at Fuji, which isn't unexpected, given that Fuji is home turf for the Toyota team. But Peugeot bought a car that looked completely different and remained competitive.
Having witnessed it, I think Le Mans Hypercars looks like a bit of a winner. Wait until next year, when we've got 10 plus teams all swapping paint on the same bit of track. This could be the best thing to happen to endurance racing since ever. Bring on 2023.